Right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my live stream about learning how to build websites, learn enough web development to land a job. This is the day one of my streaming. Let me check if I can. Let me check if I can. Let me check if I can. All right, everything's good. Check if I can. Good setup. All right. Good day, everyone. My name is Basho Shetimamusti, and today I am going to start a new series for learning web development. Learn enough web development to land a web developer job. So let's start now. And then for this series, the tool I'm going to use is Odin Project. Odin Project is an open source web development learning course, or I can say project, whereby it is open source in the sense that everyone can come to contribute to the everyone can come to contribute to the resources of the course, and then anything you need to add, you can come to add it. So let's start. I think, all right, let me close some of the not necessary tabs on my computer. All right, so I will need the chat GPT, GitHub, introduction. So there's also one technique. No, don't cancel. There's also one technique I've been using to become more productive, which is the Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro technique is a technique that has been taught to us during the start of our Odin project that has really helped me stay on track. Like, all right, so let me share my screen at first. Then, so window. Right, maybe since this is my day one, I can be able to share my whole screen. Let me share my screen before I start. I believe you can be able to. Let me cross check here. Right. Let me cross check here. Close the YouTube tab. All right. I'm here. Nice. I'm good to go. So learning enough web development to land a job. So day one. Let's start. To become more productive and to stay on track, I employ this tool called Pomo Focus. Pomo Focus is a Pomodoro timer which times every 25 minutes of focus and then gives us 5 minutes of break after each 25 minutes of focus. So this is the application. I really recommend it if you're gonna use it. So let's start that 25 minutes timer. All right, then let's come to the Odin project, and there we go to the introduction. Actual web development, we have different paths in the Odin project. We have the foundation, and then the specialization, which is full stack JavaScript or full stack Ruby and Rails. You have two choices to choose up from. So, but for in my own case, I've chosen the JavaScript one because it is more common in my area, and then I have little more experience with JavaScript than the others. It is so From the foundation, also, there's one thing I would like to show you about the Odin project. Maybe if you want to also employ what I had went through. All right, Odin project is being separated into sub modules. You see, the foundation course has sub modules: the introduction, the prerequisites. You see, we have the Git basics, we have HTML foundations, CSS foundations, Flexbox, JavaScript, so and so on and so on. So it has been separated into several modules, but the actual web development course starts from the HTML foundation. Though I had went through all this, and they are Odin related, not so much close to the web development something. Then we have computer basics, like how the web works, how this course works, how the Odin, how can you ask help about the Odin project, and so many things they have discussed about. All right. So let's come to the HTML foundation. Now we start with the HTML foundation of the Odin project. So come to the introduction to HTML and CSS. All right. What did he say? Introduction. So here it is. It is time to actually start making things. All right. This section will teach you the basics of HTML and CSS, the two functional building blocks of pretty much everything on the web. So lesson overview. In this specific section contains a general overview of topics that we will learn in this lesson. All right, get a basic overview of HTML, CSS, and how they work together. So, coming to the HTML and CSS, it says HTML and CSS are two languages that work together to create everything you see when you look at something on the internet. HTML is the raw data that a web page is built out of. All the text, links, cards, lists, and buttons are created in HTML. So CSS is what adds styles to those plain elements. HTML puts information on a web page, and CSS positions that information, gives it color, changes the font, and make it look great. All right, so many great resources out there keep referring to HTML and CSS as programming language, but if you want to get technical, labeling them as such is not quite accurate because they are only concerned with presenting information. They are not used to program any logic. JavaScript, which you will be learning in the section, is a programming language. It's used to make web pages to do things. Yet there is quite a lot you can do with HTML and CSS, and you will definitely need them both. The following lessons focus on giving you the tools you need to be successful once you get to the job as you continue through our curriculum. So that is the very quick overview of HTML and CSS. It's all of our web pages, the visual parts of the web page that we can see, while the distinct CSS gives us styling of the website. All right, or the page, I can say. CSS gives us ability to style the pages. All right, while HTML is the main structure of the site. So Odin recommends that we read this one. All right. It's a quick overview of the relationship between HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. All right. Let's see what's in there for us. Okay. Mhm. All right. So this is link is an external resource to brightdesign.com. And then here it says that we are going to be learning the difference between HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So what does this resource have for us? Okay, HTML vs CSS vs JavaScript. What's the difference? When you are designing or developing a website, there are three different coding languages that you will want to be aware of. That is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Obviously, yes. Of course, it is aware for most of us here. So, HTML, content and layout. HTML is a language that determines how documents and web pages are displayed in the web in a web browser, the language for the building blocks of any website. CSS, styling and looks and feel. Okay, CSS is a popular style sheet language that determines how a document created in HTML is styled, colors, font styles, layout, and responsive features. Okay, JavaScript interactive elements. JavaScript allows you to change HCSS and HTML on your website after the site has been loaded, which gives you the ability to make your site more interactive and engaging for users with animation, embedded video media, and more. Three These three programming languages are typically the foundation of any website, which is why it is important that you are aware of how these languages will affect your website and what they are typically used for. So, what's the difference? HTML, hypertext markup language. When is the structure, styling, then increase interactivity. That is JavaScript for us. What can you do with each programming language? With HTML, we can be able to create the structure of our website. CSS gives us the ability to make the website look more visually appealing. As for JavaScript, this is a robust programming language that allows you to effectively change the HTML and CSS component of our website to match our specific specifications precisely. If you own a website but don't know how much coding, knowing the difference between these three programming languages will help you learn better, understand what goes into developing a website. If ever a problem occurs with a component of your site, having a clear idea of what these programming languages are may be enough to help you properly diagnose what is causing the problem and how to fix it. So the following article provides an in-depth comparison of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript programming languages. So web development and coding languages. So and then one thing before I continue from the way I understand, we should all note that HTML is not a programming language, but it's a markup language. Markup language is different, similar, but really markup language is different from a programming language. All right, markup language is different from a programming language. Let me quickly send this message. All right, programming language actually is where logic happens, while markup language does not have logic. All right, so websites, let's continue with the resource. Websites can be developed with the use of a wide range of different coding and programming languages, some of which are complex than others. Some of the most common web development languages include HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, Python, Ruby, and SQL. So, while Ruby and PHP are exceedingly popular among entrepreneurs, startups, and web developers, the primary language of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript should be enough for you to understand the basics of web design and development. So, these are some of the languages. HTML, we say it's a structure, it gives us the structure of the website, and you say it is not a real programming language but a markup language. And the difference between a markup language and a programming language is that a markup language does not have logic in it, while a programming language has logic in it. It can make decisions, it has loops, if else, whatever. So, and then the CSS is a style sheet for HTML. It is used mainly inside of HTML or XHTML or whatever. It styles markup some things. So JavaScript is an actual programming language. JavaScript, PHP, Python, Ruby are all programming languages. All right, are all programming languages used for similar purpose, while SQL is a query language. It's a language but mainly used for databases, All right. HTML, CSS is, I mean, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, PHP are old programming languages and are used for similar purposes, while SQL is of is also a programming language, but it is slightly used for a different purpose. So while Ruby and PHP are exceedingly popular among entrepreneurs, startups, and website developers, the primary language of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript should be enough for you to understand the basics of web design and development. All right. So each of these languages has different purpose. Yes, as I told you, for instance, Ruby is scalable and fast programming language that can help you build an extensive website. It's a scalable and fast programming language that can help you build an extensive website or program in just a short period of time. So when paired with Ruby or Rails framework, this language gives developers practically everything they need to build a website. With a language like SQL, developers can maintain and optimize large databases in a much more streamlined manner. So different types of projects incorporate different languages of code. Many professional web developers also have their own preferences that they will use even if other programming languages have proven to be more popular. So various platforms are built on different languages. For instance, WordPress is built mainly with powerful PHP code, even though HTML and CSS are used as well. So the main language that you use all depends on your specific project and the business goals that you have. By identifying what these goals are, you should have a better idea of which language are ideal when you are developing a website. So let's repeat this. I think there's a takeaway here. Okay, so it said the main languages that you use all depends on your specific project and the business goals that you have. All right. So it may depend that maybe you need SQL and PHP because you have a lot of database or information or data that you are handling, and that maybe you need to use Ruby so that you need much speed in your website. We have a lot of visitors to your website, so you need to use Ruby on Rails to get that ability, that speed ability of Ruby on Rails. So again, then we come to the main thing, what is HTML. All right. So it said it is a programming language. All right. I doubt it's a programming language. All right. Can we make a research about it? All right. Let me do a quick web search. Is HTML a programming language? No, HTML is not a programming language. All right. I doubt that one. It's a markup language that's used to structure and mark up web pages. All right. No, HTML is not a programming language. Yes, I doubt that one. I told you. Right. So let's just believe in the process. HTML is a programming language that stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Okay. Let's take it that way. HTML is a language that stands for Hypertext Markup Language. This is relatively simplistic yet powerful programming language that allows web developers and website owners to create the structure of their websites. If you want a sentence in a blog post to receive a bold font, HTML could be used to achieve this. When using this system, any text files can be tagged for X effects, graphics, fonts, or colors. If you've never used any kind of programming languages in the past, HTML will be a great place to start. Keep in mind that HTML markups are enhanced by CSS and JavaScript, which is why it's recommended that you learn this programming language first. So what can you do with HTML? The main reason why it's important to know HTML is because it allows you as a website owner to create the basic structure of your website from which you can use any other language coding language to enhance the design. So with a basic understanding of HTML, you can significantly increase the control, flexibility what you have. You'll be able to make your own changes. By having knowledge of this code, some platforms will automatically implement many of the more complex functions of a website design, which leaves you with the ability to tend to do the minor changes that can be made with HTML. So next thing is what is CSS, all right? So, as I told you earlier, it is a style sheet that is used to style markup languages. Markup language is not necessarily HTML, it could be XHTML, and all those kind of uh, similar examples. All right. So, excuse me a minute. So, CSS is a style sheet language that's focused almost entirely on improving the presentation of HTML elements. While CSS is a static programming language, it can be used to make your website appear visually pleasing and modern. If you want your website to have a sleek and stylish design, CSS is the programming language to use. With a basic understanding of CSS, you can make changes to the overall look and feel of your website, which is useful when you want to match the appearance of your website with the aesthetics of your brand. What can you do with CSS? Even though CSS is primarily used to create static visual effects, the latest version of programming language offers some functionality for the creation of very simple animations. If you want to change the color of some of the text on a web page, basic CSS, yes, for example, you want to change the color of this paragraph or heading. If you want to change the color of some, basic CSS will allow you to do so by adding style code to the HTML code that's already found on your web page. Along with the presentation of HTML CSS, CSS can also alter layout and formattings of your websites. Once you know the basics of CSS, you should be capable of improving the look of your website and all of the HTML that you have already added to the design. Right? What? So before I enter to what JavaScript is, let me do a quick recap. All right, this screen you are seeing is a website. All right, so these texts, these stylings, this text can be added into a website using HTML. All right, then with CSS, we can be able to style those text or images that we have added through HTML. We can, for example, make this text bold using CSS. We can underline this JavaScript link using CSS. We can move elements around, for example, shift these ads to the side using CSS. We added it using HTML, CSS stylings and positionings of our web pages, of our elements, HTML elements. Stylings and positionings of our HTML elements is done using CSS from what we've understood thus far from the what HTML is, what CSS is. This is what I broke down about HTML and CSS. Alright, then to the JavaScript part, then we will relate it to this website, how JavaScript can be added or how is it added, how as JavaScript to have this page, we'll get to know it. Alright, so it says JavaScript is among the most important programming languages for website owners who want to make their site more interactive, which makes this the most complex of the three standard programming languages in this article. While HTML provides the structure for a website and CSS allows you to control the presentation of a site, the JavaScript programming language gives you the tools that you need to alter the behavior of different elements that are found on a website. With this tool, you can add a layer or interactivity to the CSS and HTML elements on your website, which is highly recommended if you want your website to appeal to the modern customer. So most websites come with a menu that can be clicked to display a selection of areas on the website that you can navigate to. The menu button usually reveals a small menu on on the side of the page, which adds interactivity to the page itself. So all of this is powered by JavaScript and can make your website appear to be more modern and sophisticated. Mm, let it not be read only, read it here. So what is the takeaway here? If I may ask, what is the takeaway here? So the takeaway here is that it says is the most important programming language for website owners who want to make their site more interactive. All right. So if you could recall, in the beginning of this lesson, we said that various programming languages can be used on the web. All right. For example, we can integrate PHP, Ruby on Rails, Python on Django or Flask into our website. All right. But why did this specific paragraph said that among all those programming languages that can be integrated in a website, into a website, so JavaScript is the most important programming language for website owners who want to make their site interactive. All right. I think JavaScript, it is because JavaScript is the language that most websites understand. Like whether you know when interpreting HTML elements, it is the browser that is translating the HTML CSS codes into a visual something. Alright, the translation of HTML elements, CSS stylings are made by the browser. So most browsers, almost every browser, for you to qualify as a browser, you must understand JavaScript code. Every browser on the web knows about JavaScript. All right, every browser that is available knows about JavaScript. So it is not necessary. Maybe when you come into my Chrome and then maybe put in some logic into HTML directly into HTML, put in some Python codes. It might not necessarily understand what I am doing for the moment. Maybe yes, of course, we have frameworks that we can download that can translate the Python codes to the websites. Yes, it can happen, but the default language is JavaScript. All right. I hope I have made myself clear. All right. A minute. Let me check this one. All right. Then, no, sorry, I noticed my Pomodoro timer has been stopped. Let me start it. All right. Stopped. While HTML provides the structure for a website and CSS allows you to control the presentation of the site, so JavaScript programming language gives you the tools that you need to alter the behavior of different elements that are found on a website or on the web page. Okay. So with this tool, you can add a layer of interactivity to the CSS and HTML elements on your website, which is highly recommended if you want your website to appeal to modern customer. Most modern websites come with a menu button that can be clicked to display a selection of areas within which you can navigate to. The menu button usually reveals a small menu on the side of the page which adds interactivity to the page itself. All of this is powered by JavaScript and can make your website appear to be more modern and sophisticated. Okay, with the basic understanding of JavaScript, you can manipulate the various interactive features of your websites to perform a wide range of actions. If you want to have complete control over the design and function of your website, you should. If you want to have a complete control over the design and function of your website, you should know at least some of the codings involved in JavaScript. What can you do with JavaScript? The types of things you can do with JavaScript are practically limitless. This is a programming language can provide you with the tools needed to create a calculator for your website, create various keyboard shortcuts that allow users to effortlessly navigate to other pages, play animations when users scroll down the page. Since you can change your HTML and CSS elements with JavaScript, this can be a very beneficial language to learn. Okay, best resources to learn web development. It recommends web resources. All right, though we have our own Odin project, our mighty Odin project. If you are looking to improve your core knowledge and understanding of the many common web development language, there are many fantastic resources that will allow you to enhance your skills in this area. No matter which programming language you want to learn, there are free resources all over the internet that will provide you with what you need to understand the basics of the language in question. If you want to focus primarily on on improving the front end development elements of your websites, the most important language to learn include HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, JavaScript. As for the back end, you should consider learning languages like Python, Ruby, and PHP. Thanks for the recommendation. Maybe if you want to take that path, you are free to. The best resources available to you include free online courses that will teach you the basics of the language in an organized and structured manner. If you want to effectively use HTML for your website, check out this course at Codec Academy. Okay, Codecademy. By the end of the 9-hour course, you should be able to use HTML on your website without running into many issues. The main website also offers free tutorials for CSS, JavaScript, both of which proven to be very popular and highly effective. While the HTML and CSS courses have 5 and 6 lessons respectively, for you to take the JavaScript course is even more robust and includes 14 lessons with 30 hours of coursework. So it says start your learning to code with Codec Academy. Conclusion: HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Well, it's possible to develop and maintain a website for your business without having any knowledge of coding via a strong content management system. Having a basic knowledge of the core of the more common programming languages will allow you to edit your current website or start building a new one without assistance. Overall, you have more control over how your website looks, feels, and performs when you have some knowledge of these programming languages. All right, thank you for such a compelling write up. My audience has closed. We have 90 minutes, 19 minutes. Low on battery. All right. All right, guys. Knowledge shake. Welcome back. So we are here with the welcome back. So we are here for the knowledge check. The following questions are an opportunity to reflect on key topics in this lesson. If you can't answer a question, click on it to review the material, but keep in mind we are not expected to memorize or master this knowledge, all right? What do HTML and CSS stand for? All right? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, while CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. All right? So, between HTML and CSS, which will you use for putting paragraphs of text on a page? To insert text images into a website, we it is best to use HTML. So I am going to use HTML to insert paragraphs of text on a web page. So next question, it says between HTML and CSS, which would you use for changing the font and background color of a button? So for styling, anything that has to do with styling, positioning, color, right? I am going to use CSS because that is its purpose. Though I can, no, I cannot do that one. All right. So let this skip my mind. What is between HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? HTML is a markup language. It's a markup language which is used to add text, images, documents into a website. CSS is a style sheet that is used to position, that is used to style our HTML elements. And then JavaScript is a programming language that is used to add interactivity to our web pages. All right. So additional resources we have, it says this section contains helpful links to related content. It isn't required, so consider it supplement. All right. But should we go through it? It says Free Code Camp's article goes into a little more depth than the assigned one. It covers things we'll be teaching explicitly in later lessons, though, so don't worry about memorizing any of the details. I'm a very curious person. I need to check this one. Let me see how many hours are we into the uh, stream. We are just 30 minutes into the 40 minutes. So learn web development basics, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript explained for beginners. All right, so we are going to have more clear overview of what HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are in this Free Code Camp article. Okay, so if you are learning web development, you will come across terms like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Exactly, we've come across them a lot of times since we started this introduction course. All right, so these are often called the building blocks of the web. Every library or tool seems to be centered around HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Yes, I see that most of the tools are centered around HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So if you want to become a web developer, you need to learn them well. Wow, this is what we are up to. That is the goal. Learn, not just learn them very well. All right. You will also discover that websites are mostly built from these three languages: Exactly. But you are probably wondering what each one of which what you are probably wondering what each one is and what it's really used for. What makes these languages special and so important? What makes them so ubiquitous that you can't help but see them in every tutorial and topic based on web development? Well, now you need more wonder no more, right? So in this article I will explain the basics of what HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are, how they make the web work, and what they do on their own. All right, what is the internet? Good question. The internet is simply a network of computers that communicate with each other to send and receive information. Each of these computers on the internet can be distinguished and located by a unique number called an IP address. An IP address looks something like 6168.212.226.240. What is the web? All right. The web is a subset of the internet. The web is a subset of the internet. I love this definition. The web is something that lives within the internet. All right. Like every other computer network out there, the web is made up of two main components: the web browser client and the web server. The client requests the data and the server shares or serves its data. To achieve this, the two parties have to establish an agreement. That agreement is called the application programming interface, or in short, the API. All right, let me come again. The client requests the data and the server shares or serves its data. To achieve client requests and then server response, the the two parties have to establish an agreement called an application programming interface. In API, it allows the server and the client to communicate between each other. All right, this is a great thing. But this data has to be arranged and formatted into a form that's understandable by end users who have a wide range of technical experience and ability. What do you say? But this data has to be arranged and formatted into a form that's understandable by end users who have a wide range of technical experience and abilities. Which data? Okay, this data has to be arranged and formatted. The data that the distinct API is sending and this thing and receiving has to be arranged and formatted into a form that's understandable by end user who have a wide range of technical experience and abilities. This is where HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and the whole concept of web development come into play. So what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Dictionary.com defines a markup as a set of detailed instructions, usually written on a manuscript, to be typeset concerning style of type markup, makeup of page, and the like. So you can think of HTML as the language used So you can think of HTML as the language used for creating detailed instructions concerning style, type, format, structure, and the makeup of a web page before it gets printed. But in the context of web development, we can replace the term printed with rendered as more accurate term. Wow, I like this one. So instead of saying the HTML documents are being printed onto the screen of your web browser, no, we can say the HTML elements are being rendered onto the web page of your browser, onto the screen of your browser. HTML helps you structure your page into elements such as paragraphs, sections, headings, navigation bars, and so on. To illustrate what a page looks like, let's create a basic HTML document. All right, doc type HTML. Wow, that is huge. All right, What? I'm running low. My battery is running low. Running low of battery. So this is a web page. This is how you can format and structure document with just HTML. As you can see, this markup contains web elements such as header 1, header 2, a paragraph, an ordered list, unordered list, a button, and then this thing, and the whole body of the page. Let's take a look. Well, after I finish this one, I will not continue to this one. Maybe in my next stream after 30 minutes, I will continue with this one, but for the reason that my battery is getting low after I'm done with this one, I will have to go. All right. So we have some meta, head, body tag, header 1 tag. Notice how they are opened and closed at the end. Header 2 opened and closed at the end. Right, header 3 opened and closed at the end. Paragraph opened and closed at the end. Exactly. Paragraph open and close at the end. Unordered lists, list items, alright, paragraph with sub paragraphs, input, body, and the HTML. Alright, this is how you can format and structure a document with just HTML. As you can see, this markup contains some web elements such as these ones. This is what the markup above renders on a web browser. This is the first level and lay heading, whatever. So you can also add attributes to those elements, which you can use to identify the elements and access them from other places in the site. In our example, we set the ID attribute. We set the ID attribute to all of the three span elements. This will help us access them from our JavaScript, as you will see later, or ID to span elements to use in JavaScript later. Think of this attribute the same way as your social media username. Okay, ID, unique identifier, such as user name of our social media handle. With this name, others can find you on social media and someone can also refer to you or mention you with this name. You can get tagged in a post and so on. This page is very basic and unattractive, though if you are building anything other than a demo, you will need to add some basic styles to make it more presentable, and we can do exactly that with CSS. Want to learn more about HTML? It says you can visit this one for responsive design certification. And this brand new HTML post. Thank you. I'm good. All right. So what is CSS? While HTML is a markup language used to format, structure our page, CSS is a language design that you can use to make your web page look nice and presentable. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet, and you use it to improve the appearance of a web page. By adding thoughtful CSS styles, you make your page more attractive and pleasant for the end user to view and use. Imagine if human beings were just made to have skeletons and bare bones. How would that look? Not nice. If you ask me, so CSS is like our skin, hair, and general physical appearance. Alright, this is a good example. He gave an example with human beings. Take you yourself as an example. You have your skeletal system. It says, imagine you without having skins, you without having flesh, you without having skin. How will that skeleton look like? Yes, it won't look good. So that skeleton alone is the HTML. So HTML alone doesn't look good. And once you add the coloring, painting, and the stylings, that is in our case the skin of our body, then the page looks better. All right. So you can also use CSS to lay out elements by positioning them in specific areas of your page. To access these elements, you have to select them. You can select a single or multiple web elements and specify how you want them to look or be positioned. The rules that govern this process are called CSS selectors. With CSS, You can set the color and background of your elements as well as the typeface margins, spacings, paddings, and so much more. If you remember our example HTML page, we had elements which were pretty self-explanatory. For example, I stated that I would change the color of the level 1 heading to red. To illustrate how CSS works, I will be sharing the code which sets the background color of the three levels of headers to red, blue, green, respectively. So remember that page we previously created. So that is what we are trying to edit now. Header 1 background color to red. Alright, since it says red, green, blue, red, blue, green, I believe this has to be red. Alright, then blue, green, mm, white, black. I don't know. Alright, let's see. The above style, when applied, will change the appearance of our web page. To do this, you see, I said red, blue, green, black, 000 black. Alright, so cool, right? Yeah, that's very cool how we style the web page. The first paragraph is now red, the second is blue, third is green, and then the emphasized text is black. Cool, right? Yes. We access each of the elements we want to work on by selecting them. The header 1 selects all level 1 headings in the page. The header 2 selects the level 2 elements, and so on. You can select any page, any single HTML element you want and specify how you want it to look or be positioned. Want to learn more about CSS? You can check out the second part of responsive page certifications. No thanks. So what is JavaScript? Now, if HTML is Markov programming language is, think of certain actions you take in your daily life. When you sense danger, hungry, you eat. When you are tired, you sleep. When you are cold, you look for warmth. When we are crossing a busy road, your brain has been programmed to react in a certain way or do certain things whenever something happens. In this same way, you can program your web page or individual elements to react to react a certain way and to do something when something else, an event happens. So you can program actions, conditions, calculations, network requests, concurrent tasks, and many other kinds of instruction. So if I join the dots, remember he gave an example with how us the human beings are. He gave an example with us. All right. So take you. All right. Take you as HTML, CSS, as a set of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Then I'm trying to demonstrate what the HTML part of you is, CSS part of you, and the JavaScript part of you are. All right. So the HTML part of you are your skeletal body, are your skeleton. Okay. So these bones, can you just imagine you without all the flesh, skin, and all of the other body parts? How will that skeletal system alone look? It will not look good. So that skeletal system alone is the HTML. All right. And then the flesh, the skin, and all of the stylings, the skin color, all are the CSS. They add styles to our HTML page. They add styles to us. All right. How the position of your nose is, the color of your skin, and all this. These are the CSS. And then the JavaScript, as he has given example here, JavaScript are the interactivity, kind of like when you are tired, you sleep. All right. When you are hungry, it is a program. You are being programmed that whenever you feel hungry, you need to eat. You are being programmed that whenever you sense danger, you run. All right. So these are the comparison between you and uh, these three web development terms: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So you can program actions, conditions, calculations, network requests, concurrent tasks, and many other kinds of instructions. You can access any element through the document object model DOM and make them change however you want them. The DOM is a tree-like representation of the web page that gets loaded into browser. It's a tree-like representation of the web page that gets loaded into the web browser. Document root, right? DOM is a tree-like representation of the web page that gets loaded into the browser. Okay, so each HTML on the web page is represented on the DOM. Thanks to the DOM, we can use methods like getElementById to get to access elements from our web page. JavaScript allows you to make your web page think and act, which is what programming language is all about. If you remember from our example HTML page, I mentioned that I was going to sum up the two numbers displayed on the page and then display the result in the place of the placeholder text. The calculation runs once the button gets clicked. All right. So clicking the get some button. So we added this get some button. Clicking the get some button will display the sum of 2 and 3. This code illustrates how you can do calculations with JavaScript. So I know this is a JavaScript function. We created a variable first number, second number, and then we did document.getElement by ID first number, second number. All right, I don't see where they input that one. So let total equals first number plus second number. So the document says we are going to later understand better some of the codes that are given to us in this resource. Okay, get element by ID, answer. Dot inner HTML, then we change first plus second. Next document dot add event listener, click. Whenever this button is clicked, this function is being called. This function gets the first number and the second number, then prints, then change the inner HTML to prints first number plus second number equals to sum. So remember what I told you about HTML attributes and their uses. This code displays just that. The display sum is a function which gets both items from the web page, converts them to numbers with the number methods, sums them up and passes them in as inner values to another element. The reason we were able to access these elements in our JavaScript was because we had set unique attributes on them to help us identify. The reason we were able to access the sum, this and that is because we had added unique, we had set unique attributes on them. So thanks to this, all right, span this ID first num, span this ID second num. Thanks to them, we were able to do this function. Finally, upon clicking of the button, you will see the sum of the two numbers on the newly updated page. You will see the sum. By clicking the button, you will see the sum of the two numbers. 2 plus 7 equals to 9. If you want to get started with JavaScript, you can check out FreeCodeCamp's JavaScript and algorithm data structure certifications. No thanks. Right? Okay. Together we use these three languages to format, design, and program web pages. And when you link together some pages with hyperlinks along with all their assets like images, videos, and so on that are on the server computer, it gets rendered into a website. This rendering typically happens on the front end where the users can see what's been displayed and interact with. On the other hand, data, especially sensitive informations like passwords, are stored and supplied from the back end part of the website. This is the part of a website which exists only on the server computer and isn't displayed on the front end browser. There, the user cannot see or readily access that information. To be honest, I don't understand this one. Okay. So it says together we use the three languages to format, design, and program web pages. That is true. And when you link together web pages with hyperlinks along with all their asset image videos and so on that are on the server computer, it gets rendered into a website. That is true. This rendering typically happens on the front end. Exactly, yes, rendering happens on the front end. Front end is the visual something parts where the users can see what's been displayed and interact with. On the other hand, data, especially sensitive informations like passwords, are stored and supplied from the back end part of the website. Exactly. This is the part of the website which exists only on the server computer and isn't displayed on the front end browser. There, the user cannot see or readily access that information. That is true. Wrapping up. As a web developer, yes, the three main goal languages we use to build websites are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. JavaScript is the programming language we use. It's the programming language. We use HTML to structure the site, and we use CSS to design and lay out the web page. These days, CSS has become more than just a design language, though you can actually implement animations and smooth transitions with just CSS. These days, CSS has become more than just a design language, though you can actually implement animations with CSS. It's not just styling. We can put CSS, we cannot just use CSS for stylings, we can use it for creating animations, transitions with just CSS. In fact, we can do more based on basic programming with CSS too. That is impressive. An example of this is when you use media queries, where you define different style rules for different kinds of screen resolutions. JavaScript has also grown beyond the being used just in the browser as well. We now use it on the server thanks to Node.js. We can use JavaScript on the server. But the fact remains HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are the main languages of the web. Exactly. That is true. I completely agree with you. All right. So that's it. The language of the web explained in basic terms. I really hope you got something useful. I really enjoyed this article. Did you? All right. So to round off this article, I have something to share. I recently started a weekly coding challenge series aimed at teaching beginners how to program in JavaScript. Check it out on my blog. We like I had been warned for like no thanks. For example, whenever you like once you set your goal onto achieving something, like let's say you want to achieve front end mastery, back end whatever, once you start that back end journey, you are going to see some fancy stuffs in front end that are likely going to attract you. But mind you, these are only distractions. All right, they are just trying to distract you. Just once you set your goal, it is Odin project. Once you decide, yes, it is the Odin project I'm going to do, just do it. No distraction, no nothing. Complete it before you do anything else. You maybe if I really like about this thing, if I really like about this one, I can maybe save it for later after my Odin project. But the goal now is Odin project, and after the Odin project is to land a job with the Odin project after completing the Odin project. All right. So I would have loved to complete this. You see, as you can see, due to my battery getting very low, I have to stop here, and then maybe after some minutes I will come. Thank you very much, guys, for supporting us. Goodbye. Let me come here and the stream. And the funny part is that this is my first ever stream, YouTube streaming. All right. I hope I really get something out of it. Thank you. Goodbye.